It's time for Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Partying, fun. Looking forward to the weekend. We're driving on the highway, cruising so fast I want to.
Cofield and Company, Angels here, Jeff Parles. Here is Treasure Island, Las Vegas. As we are locked and loaded for the next 3 hours. James back in our Findlay Toyota studios. What's up, Jeff?
Got something to say? Hit us up on the Bay Law text line. 702-3.
All right, we are here on a Friday. Cofield and Company. Jeff, I'll ask you again. What's going on?
Oh, it's it's humid here in Vegas today. That's not something we're accustomed to, Cofield. And it is
Pretty miserable.
pretty gross, to put it politely.
And it's not even
Pretty
that
gro-
humid, but for us, it's
Oh,
crazy.
for us, it's
I was walking
horrible.
in, I was like, what is it, like 92% right now? 37%. Like, it ain't that bad, but for us, it's murder. You going to be okay?
I'll be all right. Maybe just have to hydrate a little bit better. But that's pretty much it, right?
We're adults. We can handle it.
We can handle it.
I think.
Hopefully.
Well, football is here because next week teams start reporting to mini camps, and frankly, we got rookies in on the 23rd, so we're 8 days away, and then 28th is when the veterans report for the Raiders, as they'll be over in Hendo, and you can actually get out there and watch as fans. You can watch training camp. August 2nd, August 3rd, August 7th, August 8th. Get out there bright and early, 7:30 in the morning. And August is always fun. I don't know how much football you've covered here in Vegas at the training camps and the preseason camp, but it's pretty interesting. And if you complain, no one wants to hear it because the players are out there many times. Sometimes they're in the shells, but many times they're in full uniform, and it is a freaking bear. Vegas is like really no other place aside from like Arizona. For the beginning of the football season, August is pretty crazy.
You're pretty much baking out there, right? I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And you're right. It's here. It's wherever the Cardinals do their training camp by the stadium there in Glendale. But it's this Raider offseason, as we've talked about, has been all about Fernando and Max. Those are pretty much the only two names that we've heard all off season long. We barely have heard the name Clint either, despite him being Clint Kubiak being the new head coach. So it'll be very interesting to see. And again, we're getting closer. The rookies report in 6 days. Veterans are 5 days behind them. It will be fascinating to see what names stand out outside of the big four, which is obviously. And it's funny where Fernando's not even going to be the starting quarterback more likely than not. But Fernando, Ashton, Brock, and Max. That's pretty much the four names that you're looking at. And it's funny that Kirk Cousins, even though he's going to probably be the starter, if not just at the beginning of the season, but probably the majority of the season, is still kind of an afterthought for most people right now.
Well, the crazy thing is they also went out and signed a lot of shiny new toys.
Yeah, like
center, obviously,
Linderbaum, of course,
but on defense. And we really haven't talked about the defense the entire offseason, and that's clearly going to be a key to this team being one that makes progress and can get towards 500. Nakobe Dean, has some issues there, so we'll get an update on him, I guess, sooner than later. But, I wanted to ask you, of the stars, and we're going to list Mendoza as one of the stars. Who are you looking forward to seeing the most? Mendoza, Genty, Bowers, or Max? Because Max is coming off an injury. Bowers was, dinged up at times last year. Genty was hit behind the line on seemingly every touch. And then there's Mendoza, but we probably should throw in Cousins because if Cousins is really good early, what does that say about Mendoza as the season moves along? When will Mendoza get in? So I think if I was going to rank it, I think I'm most excited to see Genty. Now, in the preseason, I'm excited to see Max Crosby because I would love to see him be 110% to see what the Raiders would do moving forward. But I'm really looking forward to year 2 of Genty to see if he can produce at a much higher level with a better offensive line and maybe a different game plan on offense. I'm sure they're going to run some different things to free him up a little bit because I can only imagine if he has some space, what kind of season he can have in year 2.
So preseason only, it has to be Max, right? Because how healthy is he? You would imagine Brock Bowers is completely fine after battling injury a year ago. I'm not going to learn a lot about Genty during the preseason, right? He probably should not play at all, other than maybe, a quarter at most in those preseason games, maybe 2. It's a little bit different because of the new system with Kubiak. And then it has to be the quarterbacks because I'm very curious to see how Kubiak handles the preseason, right? We don't know what he's going to do. First-time head coach. Is he going to go full Sean McVay and not play any of these guys, any of the real starters? I don't know if he should do that because your whole new system on offense and defense, you kind of got to get your guys acclimated. Do you play him 1 game, 2 games? Maybe, again, we're probably going to see more of Fernando than we are of Cousins in the preseason just because Cousins is going to be the starter barring injury week 1 for this team. But, again, it's a fascinating lead-up to this season, at least for me, because I think the best-case scenario for this team is they go 7-10. I think that is the best-case scenario where they overachieve. They have a very difficult schedule, even with the last-place schedule. They go 7-10. That's probably the best record they have. This realistically speaking, is a 4-13 or a 5-12 with growing pains, even with a veteran quarterback. Growing pains for a young head coach. Growing pains for an offense learning its new system. Again, an offense that doesn't really, you have a top 3 tight end, but you don't really have an elite wide receiver target. That's going to have to develop through the year of, is it going to be Besh that ends up being your best wide receiver through the year, or is there going to be somebody else that's going to be your best wide receiver by the end of the year? So, fascinating lead up for a season that a payoff may not be a lot of wins. It's that the young talent develops and a young head coach develops. And honestly, you kind of hope you finish in last place again if you're not making the playoffs, so you have an easier go of it in Fernando's first full season as starter.
Raiders fans don't want to hear that, though.
I know, but I'm saying that the caveat to that is if you don't make the playoffs,
right?
Which I think is a very far-fetched idea at the moment for this team.
Playoffs or bust out.
Yeah.
Right. Be terrible or make the playoffs, and then if you don't make the playoffs, maybe a shot at someone like Jeremiah Smith. Today is the last day this week to qualify for this go-around on the Lotus Summer of Fun giveaway. It's brought to you by Bay Law Injury Attorneys, Terribles, and ESPN Las Vegas. Every week we give away a trip to somewhere domestically. In this case, it's a Mississippi River Cruise. We're celebrating America 250 with you guys, or you can take the cash. Text in to 702-364-1100, 702-364-1100. The keyword of the day, this keyword is hotel. Hotel. Text in hotel, 702-364-1100, and you can get this week's trip, potentially, in the Lotus Summer of Fun. So a little more on the Raiders. As Jeff mentioned, 23rd is when rookies are in. 28th is when the vets come in. Hall of Fame game in general is on August 6th. I mean, football is right around the corner. The Rebels start up in 43 days with Mendoza in the fold, with I'll use the term again, shiny new toy at head coach for the Raiders. Is this the most anticipated football season we've had? We haven't had multiple local teams that long, but is this the most anticipated Vegas football season we've ever had?
Now I got to think, right? Because up until, even the first year that Odom was in charge of UNLV, that kind of came out of left field that first year.
Cautious optimism.
It was cautious optimism. All right, maybe they make a bowl. And they were in the Mountain West title game. And quite frankly, that was the best of Barry's 2 years. That was the better team, was year one, at least in my opinion. It's very difficult, Cofield, because I think you could argue, because last year was cautious optimism with Mullen in year one, but there were a lot of people that thought the Raiders were going to be a playoff team last year, including myself. So I thought going in it was a lot of anticipation. Obviously, it fell apart quickly, and it was embarrassing at times, but They at least were embarrassing enough. They ended up with the quarterback at number 1. So there at least it was some solace in the Raiders being the worst team in the NFL last year. But I would argue that last year was probably a little more hyped just because I think the Raider hype will always outdo the UNLV football hype until, and if Dan Mullen hangs around, we could be talking UNLV as a, and again, I think they are capable of it this year. They could be in the college football playoff this year. If you told me in 6 months from now, hey, UNLV's going up to Autzen to take on Oregon in the 5-12, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So UNLV-wise, yeah, I think this is the most anticipated season UNLV's had in a while, just because, okay, we can really talk playoff because I think they're the best team in the Mountain West going into the year. And I know people like New Mexico. I like Hawaii as well. But I think UNLV, assuming the quarterback position is good, they don't need Arnold does not need to be Calandria, but he needs to be at least a solid top 3 Mountain West quarterback for UNLV to realize those dreams of a potential playoff berth. So I'll go most anticipated UNLV season in a while, and maybe ever going into this year, coupled with the Raiders being anticipated, but not quite as much as it was a year ago because people were genuinely thinking the Raiders could make the playoffs last year.
ESPN's FBI gives Boise State the best group of 6 shot to make the CFP at 11.1%, and UNLV's next up at 8.6%. Up next, we get ready for the baseball weekend. The voice of baseball in Las Vegas is in Texas right now with the Aviators. Matt Neverett on the way on Cofield and Company.
Got something to say? Hit us up on the Bay Law text line. 702-364-1100. Brought to you by Bay Law. It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, let's get ready for the baseball weekend like we do every Friday with the voice of baseball in Las Vegas. That's Matt Neverett, who is in Texas, and I'm sure he probably doesn't want to hear us whining about the humidity here. How is Texas, Matt?
It's humid, but to your point, though, it is humid in Vegas. Of course, it's all relative, but for Vegas, it's humid, but at least you guys aren't getting a lot of the wildfire smoke. I know we're not down here in Texas, but it could always be worse.
Yes, of course. A's rotation is set out of the gates. Give me your thoughts, and then how long this rotation has to prove itself before there's more changes. Today's Gage jump, then JT Ginn, then Jacob Lopez going to get another shot. He had a good second half last year, really never got out of the gates this year. Then Jeffrey Springs, then Jack Perkins. Give me your thoughts on those 5.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting look, and it's a team that right now is just trying to find some answers, right? I mean, the hitting's been okay. The pitching has been abysmal. There's no other way to put it. They go into the All-Star break with the worst run differential in Major League Baseball. And that's saying something considering the offensive environment that they've been playing at in West Sacramento up there. So I'll be interested to see. These are guys, I think, fighting for their final gasp at a rotation spot, especially Jacob Lopez. I would say especially Jack Perkins as well. Gage Jump has been really good in his short time with the big leagues. And then JT Ginn is not going to be able to change his game too much as a sinker baller who relies mostly on sinker slider. And then Jeff Springs, who knows what they're going to do with Jeff Springs. I think out of this current rotation, he's the guy that is the most likely to be traded. Now, will they find a dance partner for him? I think they might, almost solely based on the fact that he's left-handed and different organizations have their different pitching philosophies. We've seen guys go take off as soon as they go to a different team. Sometimes it's just a change of scenery. So for those 5, I think for about 4 of them, it's do or die, put up or shut up time. And I think Springs is probably the most likely candidate out of those 5 to get moved here as the deadline approaches on August 3rd.
So, Matt, Springs, McNeil, Heim, veteran bullpen arms. Anyone else I'm missing on the, potential trade candidates for the A's?
I mean, if I'm the A's and I get an offer for Jonah Heim, I move him to second that I'm able to. I mean, remember, this is a guy that they picked up off the scrap heap. They got him on waivers from Atlanta back in May. So he's made a pretty good impact already, and as a switch-hitting catcher, he's going to make an impact for, I think, some playoff-bound team. Of course, that field a little bit diluted now that almost half the league makes the playoffs, but I digress. I think Heim is absolutely a candidate and will get moved. And for Jeff McNeil, I'll be interested to see, kind of what that trade entails, because that'll kind of set the tone for what this team expects to be and projects to be really in the second half of the season. We're already almost 100 games in, but you catch my drift coming out of the All-Star game. Second base is a position that's been kind of deadlocked because of the signing of McNeil. I mean, you got guys like Kuroda Grauer, Darryl Hernandez here in Vegas, and also a guy like Max Muncy, who's now back down here in Vegas and playing in left field in tonight's lineup, mainly due to the fact that there's not an opening at second base because of McNeil's veteran status. So while he is a very valuable piece for the A's and maybe another franchise come the deadline, I think that they would be best in terms of progressing their own guys through the system, that they might be better off making a move, because I think middle infield is one of the areas where the A's actually have some really good depth coming up through the minor leagues. Don't forget a guy named Leo DeVries as well coming up through the system. We haven't seen him yet in Vegas, but he's a middle infielder who projects to be a pretty true shortstop. So we'll see what the decision is. And like I said, I think that the trade or non-trade of McNeil will tell you a lot about where the A's see themselves here the rest of the year.
Well, and Matt, you just mentioned DeVries. We'll get back to him in a second because he was awesome in Philadelphia in front of everybody in the Futures game on Sunday. But what about Tommy Tanks? What about him? What do you think? Do you think we see him up with the big club at some point this year? And then what do you project?
I think we'll see him in tonight's lineup playing first base.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I realized that midway through the sentence, my friend.
Hey, we've all been there. I actually did my pregame interview today for the Aviators broadcast with Johnny Dosco, who's a buddy of Cofield's, and he was the one that actually gave that to me. So it'll be White. He's a guy who's batted 300 at both levels this year. He's a guy who just oozes confidence, and he's got as much power as anybody. Now, he didn't show off a ton of that power. 9 homers in 55 games with the Aviators this year, but I think you look at some of the ancillary numbers for him to kind of determine his effectiveness at AAA this year. 47 RBIs in 55 games, and OPS approaching 850. He was solid, despite the fact that he missed a couple of weeks when he got hit in the face by a 100-mile-an-hour ground ball that took a terrible bounce on him back at home. I think he's going to be fine. The defense at first base is a bit questionable, and his defense has been a little bit suspect ever since he was drafted as a third baseman. I think we'll see a lot of him at first base until Nick Kurtz comes back, but he's a guy who's going to be confident. He's a great bad ball hitter, and I think that bodes well for a guy in his first couple of games in the big leagues. His stance has really widened since his time at NC State his freshman year. I mean, he's got a toe on each of the front and the back chalk lines of the batter's box. Because of that, he really doesn't have to adjust with 2 strikes, so you really won't see too big of a difference as he gets late in the counts. And like I said, I think a bad ball hitter kind of allows you to have a little bit more leeway in your major league debut your first couple of games.
Matt, what do you think it's time to shut down Jacob Wilson with the shoulder at this point?
I mean, it's tough to tell because, like I mentioned, middle infield is a position that they are pretty deep in the minor leagues. But, he is an exciting player. He is somebody that gives fans in Sacramento for this year somebody to come out and watch. And, he's a guy who can anchor that lineup at the top. Now, the question becomes if they continue to falter here in these next couple of weeks as we sit here on the 17th of July, deadline day just about 2 weeks away, they're 13, 14 games under 500. And if they continue to slip and they're 20 under at the deadline, I think we could see them sell, and I think we could see some of those moves like shutting down a Jacob Wilson and really slow-rolling Nick Kurtz's comeback from that thumb injury, because that's one that could linger as well. A separated shoulder and the thumb injury for those two guys and what they mean to this organization, really, really tricky in terms of the timing. I think a lot of it will be determined on the momentum here coming towards the trade deadline.
Matt, just looking at, you already mentioned it, the way that the A's handled Jeff McNeil is going to really set the course for what this team is looking to be in this second half. Are there a few players that you think, all right, I'm watching them the last few months of the season. These are the players I need to figure out what I have going into whatever we get in 2027 and potentially looking to the first year here in Vegas in 2028?
Definitely. I think Colby Thomas is one of those guys. He's almost been the forgotten guy in that outfield, and he has not had a ton of at-bats this year because of that. I mean, he's played 2 of the last 6 games, and for a guy like him who's still pretty young, still just 25 years old, he still has a long way to go in terms of being a reliable, everyday, major league caliber hitter. Now, in terms of his defense and his hustle, that's something that you'll never have to doubt. He's been giving above average effort and above average major league defense in the outfield for a couple of seasons now. So I think that he's a guy that they really could show off and potentially move in the offseason if he doesn't factor into the future plans. I mean, just looking up and down the lineup right now, Carlos Cortez, you know what you got. Tyler Soderstrom, you know what you got. Alika Williams could be a question mark, but again, that middle infield being as deep as it is, I'll be really interested to see. And then if the big question for me, too, is if Zach Geloff or Denzel Clark come back this year, what you have in those two guys. Because with Clark, it is otherworldly defense, but absolutely no bat. And for Zach Geloff, it's just a matter of staying healthy because as he's added the outfield to his repertoire this year, he's become slowly a really invaluable player for this A's organization. So I think getting him back to speed and getting him back on the field is extremely healthy. I would love to see Colby Thomas, and not just because he's one of my favorite guys off the field. I really think they need to see what they have in the power-hitting corner outfielder.
Matt Neverett's on ESPN Las Vegas, voice of baseball in town and voice of the Rebels. Saw the announcement yesterday that, again, a pair of 3-game series next year, 2027 at LV Ballpark. Padres will be in town a little bit earlier, May 31st it starts, then the Reds. Do you know, I don't want to get you in trouble, do you know if there was any talk about expanding this and potentially having 12 games, 15 games? I wonder why they wouldn't expand and do more games here in Vegas.
You know, and I hadn't heard anything one way or another. As you know, I choose willful ignorance at times to kind of, help my own mental health. This is a situation that absolutely applies there. I'm surprised that they did not do more as well. I was kind of expecting 9 and maybe even 12. I think a lot of the question becomes about the deal that they had signed with Sutter Health Ballpark and the situation in Sacramento. What percentage or game or number of games did they agree to, and how do these games in Vegas affect that? I don't know the answer to that, so you can't get me in trouble there. But I'd be interested to see kind of what that agreement looks like and how much that factored in, because I was out of town when those games happened in Vegas. I was with the Aviators in Omaha, but from everything that I had heard, they were all sellouts. They were all tremendously successful, and it's really starting with what the A's are trying to do in terms of building a local fan base in Las Vegas, because as you guys know, Vegas, in terms of baseball fandom, it's either the Dodgers or a bunch of other random teams. There isn't necessarily a team outside the Dodgers that has cornered the market in Vegas. So now that the A's are coming and that ballpark is absolutely flying up on the Strip, I think that they're really saying, oh, my goodness, we need to find a way to get this local fan base to help support, especially when it comes to season tickets and those PSLs starting in 2028.
17 days until the trade deadline on August 3rd. Could the Mets be the most aggressive and sort of control all of baseball at the trade deadline? Do they have that many great tradable players? They said only 5 guys are unavailable, Soto, and then a bunch of their prospects and young guys on the cusp or in the majors. Do they have enough players that people would be interested in some of these big contracts especially?
Yeah, I think the contracts are really the only reason that I would have any pause if I'm another team. I think a lot of the problems with the Mets come internally, with coaching and with the stubborn attitude that they've taken to their minor league system over the last couple of years. One thing that we do know, and one thing I know I mention to Jeff all the time, is that Steve Cohen gets bored. I mean, he wants to make moves. And he is not that he's not shy about it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him swallow some of his pride this year and sell off, because this Mets team that started the year with pretty to really high expectations seemingly fell off of a train at the beginning of the year and really hasn't been able to pick back any kind of momentum at 16 games under 500 coming into the post All-Star break schedule. It's really a surprise with a lot of the talent. They've got a very, very talented team on paper, and I would not be surprised whatsoever to see other teams try to scoop in and turn one guy's trash into another guy's treasure. I think that they're a team that could absolutely help another team load up for the playoffs.
Last one, Matt. You were at a Mountain West Conference Football Media Day the other day. Any narrative come out for you? What was your main thought of being out there?
Just fun to get back with everybody, see a lot of the folks from around the conference that you don't get to see throughout the basketball season and the early part of the year. I think a lot of the buzz, and I'm sure you felt it too, was kind of just that dark horse of what do we got in North Dakota State? I mean, no disrespect to UTEP, who did have some excitement, and NIU as well, the other newcomer to the conference, fully, I should say. But a lot of people were asking me, like, what do you think of North Dakota State? How are they going to fit in year one? So I think that buzz, not only for the conference, but for the Bison program is a big deal as well. And I think we saw it and heard it a lot with the answers in terms of UNLV and their expectation as the top team in the conference. I am surprised. I don't know if you guys agree with me on this. I'm actually really, really surprised that the Mountain West didn't just go ahead and ram through a media vote. I know it might have been tough to do like a first team, second team, third team in terms of the players, but I think that the media in general in the Mountain West Conference is smart enough and savvy enough to be able to have an idea about the teams playing this year. Don't you guys? And I mean, I'm not just saying this because I like voting, but I'm actually very surprised that they did no media poll this year.
You want me to answer? Is the media smart enough to do a preseason poll?
Well, that's
no.
just the Vegas media, Steve.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I actually think they're worthless in the transfer portal era. I think it's just a guessing game, and it doesn't matter that much. We have the preseason poll. It's the sports books. So I'll go with that, and I think the books are going to be wrong on several fronts, but it's very jammed from Air Force all the way up to New Mexico with 5 or 6 teams in there. But I mean, it's a good talking point. But frankly, you could just walk downstairs, at the Palms and get the odds. So no interest, Matt. No interest. Sorry to crap on you at the end, but have a good time.
You've been voting longer than I have, so maybe the fun is worn off. But I still like it, darn it.
Yeah, you've been more successful because you were the one a couple of years ago who picked UNLV out of nowhere to do well that year. So thanks, Matt. We'll talk to you, buddy.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys.
Up next, ACC Football Media Day had a lot of narratives coming out of that one. Man, there's one guy who is as stubborn as anyone in the country, and I think he may lose his job if he doesn't embrace the transfer portal soon.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
It's Golden Circle here on a Friday. Come on down. Got that brand new beef brisket hot dog on special. That's Dynamite happy hour every day, 10 a to 6 p with specials on select draft beers for just $5. Parles is here. It's Cofield. We'll get into the World Cup as the finals all set for Sunday, or is it? Because of weather conditions in the Midwest and especially in the Northeast where the game is. ACC Football Media Days went down the last couple of days, and there's a lot to get into. We'll hit on a bunch of different topics, but I wanted to jump into real quick Belichick, because we'll talk about Dabo Swinney and his portal thing. Belichick has to say what Belichick needs to say right now, because after last year, there's a lot of doubters. I think most people are like, why is he even doing this? I saw Paul Feinbaum ripping the hell out of him, which Paul's good at, except if you come back at Paul, then he wants it to be. Should we have some confidence that they've rebuilt this program and he understands better now what he needs to do?
No.
Or is this just going to be another 4 or 5 win season?
No, I don't know. Okay, can we go in between? I think it's somewhere in between. I still don't think that – I mean, look, if you're referring to the shiny objects at quarterback, you're just not paying attention, because Fernando, transfer, title, number 1 pick. Will Howard – was Will Howard perfect at Ohio State? No. But guess what? He was much better than what they had last year. And in Ohio State was awesome last year, but Howard was better than Sayin and was a big reason that they won the title 2 years ago. So, again, Dabo is Dabo. I for lack of a better phrase. He's going to just continue doing this. I mean, he was complaining about that Congress still needs to get involved in all this, which, again, does Congress really need to get involved? Like, do we really need to involve the politicians in this? I think the other thing that he has going against him is Miami might be the best team in the country going into this year. Might. And SMU's really good again. So they might be peaking out as the 3rd best team in the ACC, which is a situation that he's just not familiar with. Oh, and then I think Va Tech will be better. I think Florida State should be better. So, look, he could have a much better team and go 7-5 this year.
On the way back, we're going to talk to Sam PANAYOTOVICH, who is now in Chicago, FoxSports.com, our gambling insider on Fridays, and there's more and more chatter about LeBron deciding pretty soon that it won't be Cleveland, it won't be GSW, so is it time to start speculative betting on someone that we believe LeBron is somewhere where LeBron is going to land? Might be time, because I think the odds are pretty good on the team I'll name, the Heat.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, every Friday we talk to our gambling insider, Sam PANAYOTOVICH, who's in Chicago. Sam, can you breathe? What is going on there, dude?
Yesterday it was tough because the air quality was in the 800s, which I'm being told is lethal or something like that. Like you couldn't you couldn't see across the street if you were downtown Chicago with all the smoke and the fog from the wildfires.
Holy moly. World Cup this weekend. Are we doing anything with the title game? I know you've seen that Sharps are all over the third place game.
Yeah, they hit the over pretty hard, and that number has moved. Full disclosure, it was 3 in England, and it was like 3 over minus 125, minus 130, and these guys went to town on it with a knife and a fork, and it's 3.5. I'm looking at the board right now. It's 3.5 basically everywhere. Obviously, they need 4 goals to win, but this is why the professionals are professionals. They get good numbers. So those guys go over 3. The market's now 3.5. Anybody late to the party goes over 3.5. 2 to 1's a loss. 2 to 1's going to push for the guys who got 3. But yeah, I'm looking right now. There's there's not a 3 anywhere in sight. As for the final, you're going to see a ton of bets on Argentina as a dog. That's just going to be the public side. Doesn't mean it's not going to win. And you're going to see a lot of money, too, on Messi to score a goal. I had somebody tell me that betting against Argentina is like betting against the Chiefs and Mahomes. I think that's a pretty fair and fun comparison. So there's this guy I know he's been betting against Argentina. He took Cape Verde, he took Egypt, and he took England and lost all 3 somehow.
Oh, my God. That is freaking, I almost cursed. That is freaking brutal. Totally brutal. When you talk to bookmakers, what's their take on the World Cup in general for the books? Have they done okay?
They've done pretty solid because most people don't like to bet the draw in the 90-minute window. They like to pick a side, Team A or Team B. And there was a stretch where the draw hit like 20 out of 25 matches. Now, there were some people that took advantage of that, but nobody wants to bet, for the most part, on a tie. And I don't, for the record, Steve, if I ever have to watch another 0-0 soccer match, I'm going to poke my eyes out with a fork. Like, there's nothing worse than watching 95 minutes of soccer. It's 0-0, and then they just end it. Like, it is so lame. But if you were a draw bettor, you probably made a bunch of money here. If you were not a draw bettor, you probably didn't do too well in this tournament. And honestly, with France going out, everybody had France to win. They were the favorites, so for them to get knocked out, it was great. Argentina has a ton of liability. So I think the books, not only in the match itself, but in the future pool, would love to see Spain finish this off.
Sammy P is in Chicago. He's our gambling insider on Fridays at SB Shoot, up on Twitter, foxsports.com. We talk to Ray Cleaver from William Hill every Tuesday. He's been saying with football, the betting got hot and heavy weeks and weeks and weeks ago. I know you talked to Johnny Murray over at Superbook. What's it been like for them, and are the Bears the team that people are freaking smoking on?
We had John on Fox Chicago this week, and he told me that the Bears lead the ticket count in 3 different categories. To win the division, NFC North, to win the NFC, and to win the Super Bowl. Bears have the most tickets, so that's public. That's tickets, not handle. Most tickets, division, conference, Super Bowl, and then Caleb Williams has the most tickets at the Superbook to win the MVP. So if that doesn't paint the picture of a public infatuation, nothing does. The Bears are the trendiest team, at least at the Westgate. Now, a couple other books, guys over at Station, some of the guys over at Circa, they're backing up the point that the Bears bettors do this every year, but they don't necessarily lead the ticket count. I think that's the difference between being a public team and being the most public team. And I'll tell you what, Steve, like if you line up 100 people and ask them who's going to win the NFC North, you're going to get a good amount of Bears, a good amount of Lions, and a decent amount of Packers. Nobody's saying the Vikings. Not one person. But that's what the Bears were last year. Nobody was picking the Bears last year. The Bears win the division. Now everybody wants the Bears. The Vikings are probably the most undervalued team in the entire NFC, honestly.
I just want to throw one thing out there, Sam, and Rob Meish's article backs this up from before the season. There was one person who picked the Bears to win the NFC North last year, and that was myself. So I will at least throw that out there. I was on an island. But I'm with you on Minnesota, though, because what we only heard last year? McCarthy is terrible. They have no quarterback. Kyler Murray has his flaws, Sam, but Kevin O'Connell's a great QB coach, as we've seen. And if Kyler Murray can even play 15 games, that kind of feels like you're onto something there.
I do like my quarterbacks to be able to see over the offensive line.
That would
maybe
help.
we can get, maybe we can get him some lifts. Maybe we can add a couple inches there because they list him at 5'10", and if he's 5'10", I'm 7 foot. Like that's just not. He's not 5'10". That's like when they used to list Charles Barkley at 6'7", and Charles Barkley 6'4". I do like Kyler though. I like him more than I liked McCarthy, and It's crazy how bad quarterback play can derail everything. Their roster, they have a really good offensive line. They've got 3 of the best receivers. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Jawan Jennings, who's a former San Francisco 49er. Those 3 guys, along with their tight ends that they like, they got Hawkinson and Josh Oliver. The problem was they had a 0 or an F at quarterback. So if they can have more TOP and possess the football, it makes everything easier on that defense. And look, I would argue from a schematic standpoint, with Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores running offense and defense, they might be the most well-coached team in the division. But they need play from quarterback, and that's what they did not have last year.
Sam, going to the AFC, I've heard a lot about Bengals. Is this from wise guys or is this from the public?
Oh, this is sharp for sure. In fact, there was a group over the weekend that came in and bet Bengals too. So there was an initial push maybe like 10 days ago. Guys came in and bet them to win the AFC and to win the Super Bowl. And then somebody else caught wind and decided, well, why are we going to wait? We already missed the best of it. Let's bet it again. And, the Bengals are a team that you can still sort of find to win the whole thing in like that 25-1 range. As I look now, I'm seeing some books in the 22 and 20 range. I don't have the Vegas conglomerates in front of me, but I mean anything north of 20 is probably fair because that AFC it's priced so weirdly this year. Like the Patriots are priced like a legit contender, and I'm just not there. You got obviously the Bills and Ravens who are regular season warriors and postseason flubs, and then there's the Chiefs. Like, what do you do with the Chiefs? We know Mahomes isn't going to be healthy for a while. I don't believe that he's coming back earlier than people think, but I think this is a very strangely priced conference, and I think people do find value in Cincy at a double-digit number, like 11, 12-1. If they're healthy on offense, they're legit. They're arguably elite. And, look, they made a big deal, Jeff, in the offseason getting Dexter Lawrence. I mean, that is a monster on the defensive line. And when you can get pressure in the pocket, it makes everybody behind you better on defense. That's a wise guy team for sure, Cincinnati. The public likes the Bears. The public likes the Ravens. The public likes the Patriots. But the wise guys definitely have made their push on the Bengals.
What was the lovable reunion in Chicago?
I was there last night. It's the 10-year anniversary of the 2016 World Series team, the Cubs, that broke the curse and had so many famous players and, superstar celebrity fans and all that. And it was really cool. So Jake Arrieta was there with John Lester, Dexter Fowler, Jason Hayward, Miguel Montero, John Lackey, and they were joining the manager, Joe Madden, and then the host of the podcast, Lovable Reunion, that's Anthony Rizzo and David Ross production. They basically did a 7 or 8 seater at a theater and just told old stories.
Nice.
And then they were playing World Series highlights and blasting confetti and playing Go Cubs Go, and then Theo came out and a lot of the other players that weren't as big named. So then at the end, the host of the event says, every good show has an encore. Here's Eddie Vedder. And Eddie Vedder comes out and plays Someday We'll Go All the Way on acoustic guitar. And the people were, like, crying in the stands. It was really cool, man.
That's awesome. Did you get a chance to talk to Eddie Vedder?
I didn't talk to him. I was near him. I was, like, 2 seats over. I've talked to Eddie before. So in 2016, I've told this story many times. During the World Series, outside Wrigley, there's a street called Waveland Avenue. And that's where all the rooftops are on the left field side. After World Series games, remember, the Cubs went down 3-1 in that World Series to the Cleveland Indians. And I can say Indians because they were called the Indians then. Eddie Vedder, after I believe Game 4, when the Cubs were down 3-1, was playing acoustic guitar on a stoop on Waveland Avenue playing Someday We'll Go All the Way. And people are just like, that's Eddie Vedder. Like, he's such a good dude, and he's so free with his time.
Detroit is looking to make a run in the second half. I don't know if it means they're keeping Tarek Skubal or not. What's the reaction from the bettors and the books on the Tigers in the second half?
Well, you've seen them definitely get hit. A week or two ago, let's call it 2 weeks, the Detroit Tigers to make the playoffs were 7-1, give or take. So, a dollar wins you 7. Best price I see right now on the Tigers to make the playoffs is, scroll, 3-1. So that thing has been whacked in more than half. They're only 3.5 out of the wild card. You look at that AL wild card picture, it's a hodgepodge of, like, really average teams. And, they didn't play good baseball early. They sort of got buried under the deck in April. But since June 1st, Steve, they are the number 1 team in the American League, the best record in the American League since June 1. And it sounds now like they might be buyers. Like, they might start adding guys because, that ownership group wants to win and they want to maximize this window with Skubal. So you might see them be very, very quick to pull the trigger on another player. And I'll tell you what, I think the playoff bet's good at 3-1. And look, if they get in, they're dangerous. There's a 30-1 on them to win the pennant.
Yeah.
If they become a wild card team and you got to face Skubal in game 1, man, good luck.
Yep. 2 questions in 90 seconds. Are we starting to look around for other MVP options in the NL over Ohtani?
Yeah, I'm gonna hate myself when I bet Pete Crow Armstrong at 8-1 and he doesn't win. But good grief, he had a June that we haven't seen since Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, like, statistically speaking, which is insane to even say that out loud. Ohtani's minus 1,000. He probably wins. The press has an infatuation for him. But if he tweaks something or he misses 3-4 weeks or something like that, that market is wide open. So I'm hovering over PCA 8-1 MVP.
Should I be grabbing the Heat at 8-1 with LeBron's decision in mind, 8-1 to win the Eastern Conference?
Oh my God, who cares anymore? Like, I don't care. Like, can we just get this over with, please?
Well, he's going to decide here soon, and then at that point, what do we do? Someone's got to win the Eastern Conference.
I have no idea what. Like, I need to see where he goes before if I sit here and tell you Cleveland, right, and then he goes to Miami or Brooklyn, like, I don't know what to do, man, honestly.
Final 15 seconds. Is there anything we need to do this weekend with the British?
I'm going to just bet Scheffler. That's famous last words. He's 6-1. He's right there. Saturday's a big day for him. He's 4 shots back. 6-1 on Scheffler. Yeah, that'll get my money again.
All right, we'll make the best of it this weekend. I don't know if you got to work in Chicago with the air as crappy as it is. We'll talk to you, buddy.
All right, guys. See you.
There he is, Sam PANAYOTOVICH. I think it's time to spec bet because I think he is going to the Heat. We're seeing news that the Warriors are prepping for bad news. I'm starting to see Cavaliers fans and Cavaliers media come unraveled. It makes sense. I'll take a guess at it. 8-1 on the Heat to win the East. Let's do it.
Dodgers at the Yankees this weekend, Saturday at 5 and Sunday at 4. Listen to the games on ESPN Radio, 100.9 FM and 1100 AM.
Brought to you by the Richard Harris Law Firm. Just in case, call 444-4444.
Gambler's Bonus hits again. On June 14th, Betty hit 4 fours, clearing her Gambler's Bonus 4-of-a-kind bingo card for over $11,000. Betty hit big, and so can you with Gambler's Bonus. It's why you play the game.
Sign up today for a new William Hill Nevada mobile sports account, and you can earn up to a $250 bonus bet after placing your first qualifying wager. The William Hill Nevada mobile sports app allows you to bet on the go from any iPhone, iPad, or Android device from anywhere in Nevada. Sign up today and you will never miss another bet. With the largest wagering menu, the mobile sports app features same-game parlays, early cash out, and live in-play wagering on all major sports. For more information, official rules, and to see participating sign-up locations, visit williamhill.us. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
more.
Veterans and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Miss a show? Check out lvsportsnetwork.com for everything ESPN Las Vegas, 1100 AM and 100.9 FM. It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
It is hour 2, the baseball slate about to begin. A's will go tonight at home. Cade Cavalli is facing the rookie superstar Gage Jump. Cavalli, in the last 3 starts, 14 innings, 15 runs, so he's certainly hittable. The question is, will the A's hit? We know they can pitch with Gage Jump on the mound. Can they hit? It's Big 4 time.
Battleborn Injury Lawyers presents the Big 4 at 4. Number 4.
So World Cup Finals coming up. A lot of us thought FIFA picking New Jersey, New York, the really boring Jet Life Stadium, as the site of the final was kind of dumb. It should have been in L.A., and you can't control the weather. But now this is turning into a freaking disaster because of the fires in Canada. What's the update on the air quality? How bad does it have to be for them to say, hey, we got to push this game back?
Well, I think there might have to legitimately be a fire that starts inside the stadium for them to move it, in all honesty. Hey, look, the Meadowlands have caught on fire in the past, not the actual stadium, but the actual Meadowlands near the stadium and the other stuff that's over there, including the mall. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to move it. I would be shocked if that happens. This was, look, for me, this was always dumb to put. I understand New York. The press conferences are at Fanatics Fest as well, so I'm sure Michael Rubin found a way to play a role in this being in the New York area. This should have been in either L.A. or one of the 2 dome stadiums that had the semis.
Probably the dome stadiums,
like
considering the fact that everyone's complained about the weather, and you know it's going to be the dog days. Put it inside and at least have the final in temperature-controlled conditions.
I always thought Dallas made the most sense because central-ish. It is very south, but is centrally located in comparison to other spots. We'll see. Look, the other thing is it looks like it's going to rain on Sunday, so that's good. And also, too, we already have the complete complaining, and mostly it's British media that's doing the complaining, and Sepp Blatter, I think Sepp Blatter at this point has done all of his complaining because he has somehow gotten out-corrupted by Infantino. So I think he's like, how could I have not pulled this off in my tenure? And he's just jealous of Infantino. But there's a lot of complaining that there's going to be a Super Bowl-style halftime show with Madonna and Bieber and Shakira, and it's this huge thing. So
sneak this in and no one knows about it?
No, they've known about this for months.
Okay.
But no one knows how long it's going to be.
Oh, okay.
So, normal halftime cannot be longer than 15 minutes, normally.
Oh, boy.
And the show, from what I saw today, is scheduled to be 11 minutes, which 11-minute show, add 10 minutes for takedown and put-up.
Wait, are those really the artists?
Yeah.
They're playing 11 minutes? That's it?
I might be and I think BTS is there, so 11 minutes. So,
Wait
and I
a
might
second.
be, yeah,
What?
that's what they claim. So who knows if it'll be 11 minutes or longer.
God.
But the I've seen 21 minutes, I've seen 31 minutes, but really it's been British media on my feed that's been complaining more than anybody else. And of course, England's not even in the game.
Holy moly. Number 3.
Number 3.
ACC Media Days. We got started on Dabo Sweeney. I want to finish up. So, Dabo, if you weren't paying attention, and I really wasn't paying attention that closely to the quarterback market and who grabbed guys, I paid attention to the quarterback market, but I didn't realize that on the heels of Klubnik, Clemson has a dude who was part of the 2023 recruiting class, Chris Vezina, and Sweeney said we weren't going to go out and get a shiny object transfer at quarterback. If it doesn't work out, we're going to be raked over the coals. I don't know why he would say that. You are going to get raked over the coals. here's the thing. If you actually look at their quarterback room, first of all, Bazine is a really interesting case because he was the number 10 quarterback in the recruiting class in 2023. But it's highly unusual for guys to stay around at one stop for that long, to wait until they play. So he's either really loyal, had been brainwashed by Dabo, or maybe there wasn't a market for him. The backups in the room, the 2 and 3 are not highly decorated guys at all. One is a transfer from like Anderson College. The 4 and 5s are true freshmen, and I was looking at, and I don't go by rankings all the time, but I was looking at the rankings of those guys, and it was like the number 30 quarterback in the class and the number 90 quarterback in the class. What is he doing? Like, is he? This stance on being anti-portal is getting freaking absurd. They are 14 to 1 to win the ACC. And to me, now the pressure's on even more. If they don't win the ACC, they certainly have to be one of the top 2 or 3 programs every year, which should have you in the running to make the CFP. We've expanded this whole thing, and he's still not a candidate. And I think a lot of the reason is he won't use the portal.
Oh, I don't think it's a thing. I think it's absolutely the case why they've fallen on hard times, Cofield. And you just brought up the ACC as a whole. Look, the absurdity of what transpired in the ACC, I do not anticipate again this year, where their 7th best team somehow wins the conference, and then they get fortunate that the committee did the right thing with putting Miami in. And look, Miami was clearly one of the 5 best teams in the country last year and was a drive away, down 6 from winning the national championship a year ago. I think Miami's one of the 3 best teams in the country if we're going straight talent. And the fact that they portaled and got Mensa, they're going to, that's the thing. They have been aggressive in the portal at quarterback, and it nearly got him a title with a guy who everyone hated in Carson Beck, and they nearly won a title with him at quarterback. Everyone seems to love Mensa on the field. I don't see it as much as others, but Duke did win the ACC a year ago. So Dabo's just stubborn. I'm not going to say he's stupid because he's won titles in the past, but in this era, he's just too stubborn to join the party. Oh, and by the way, SMU might be really good this year too. So you have 2 teams that I would look at. Miami, barring injuries, going to be a playoff team. SMU has a soft enough schedule and a lot of talent that they could be a playoff team. Committee really going to take 3 from the ACC under any circumstance? Probably not.
Number 2.
Adam Silver was part of that. Was he part of the Fanatics Fest?
Yesterday he was not at Fanatics
Fest.
Fest.
When did he make the statement about Caitlin Clark?
This was Thursday.
Okay, so on Caitlin Clark, he said what? About political football now?
Yep.
And he chimed in saying, "Hey, this is not a great scenario for CC."
Yeah, this goes back again to the point I've now made. This, I think, will be the 3rd time I've said this on the show. But it's important to be said of that the WNBA and the leadership of that league. And I wonder now if what we talked about on Wednesday that was refuted quickly by everyone, which makes me think it was true based off how quickly the refuting came, that Adam Silver was like to Engelbert, hey, you have to suspend Alyssa Thomas even if you don't think she deserves to be suspended because of the optics here. And this just goes back to that the WNBA screwed up all of the optics with everyone with catering to the wrong people when it comes to Caitlin Clark. And look, Caitlin Clark's fan base, you can say what you want about them, positive and negative, but they are passionate. And they are a big reason that the league's popularity has gone up over the last 3 years. So, once again, this just go all of their issues, all of this nonsense in public, all of what Silver has said about, look, that I don't like that she's become a political football and so on and so forth. She's an incredible person and an incredible player, but all we talk about is her being, again, the other things that come around it.
Yeah.
That's on the WNBA for failing to correct.
They have no game plan.
No, they have no game plan.
And frankly, I'll put it on Team Clark as well. I do think they could be more proactive. And
sure.
I don't know if that means they're going to squash or quash the interest in her from certain people. I think if she actually spoke honestly, a lot of them would go away. But, yeah, Silver said she wants to focus on being the best player she can. She's become a bit of a political football in this country. I think it's incredibly unfair to her. I don't think that ultimately, or that the issue is ultimately about, he was talking about officiating, blah, blah, blah. Now, that said, if I'm a certain someone and I need to put out my weekly distractions and Caitlin Clark and the league aren't going to be proactive in, like I said, squashing part of that fan base that believes that she leans one way or the other, if I'm Trump this coming week with the All-Star weekend or week, whatever it is, the 23rd coming up, that's one of my distractions next week. I am 100% going in behind that GOP thing. Remember last week, a bunch of Republicans said, hey, we want the league to start looking, or we're going to do it. We want them to look into officiating and issues here with Caitlin Clark. Trump's got to jump on this. He just heard Silver say political football. He needs to kick the hell out of that ball. That would be a great play, and maybe that would wake up the WNBA and Caitlin Clark to go, okay, now Trump's on this. We got to say something.
So, and also, too, remember, also, the president's going to be at the World Cup final as well, Cofield. So, it could be a big sports.
Well, he doesn't need to be part of WNBA All-Star Weekend to speak on it.
No, well, I mean, he can speak on whatever he wants.
Send out a couple of True Social posts.
Just go from there.
Some hidden messages on Twitter and get this thing friggin' going.
But you're 100% right, though. At some point, the league has to, and honestly, you are right on Team Clark, too. Everyone's got to wake up. Everyone's got to wake up here and at least get out there and get in front of this for once. And they haven't. It's been 3 years. They haven't gotten out in front of it at all.
I don't know what she needs to say. I mean, because one of the things I think that would be the most easy thing to say is, yes, I'm heterosexual, but I like lesbians. Stop assuming that this league is against me because I'm heterosexual. That's not the way this league works. We all coexist, and I love lesbians. Now, she doesn't have to say it with that kind of vigor, but maybe, and I would say it repeatedly.
You were very excited there.
Well, I mean, it's just enough's enough. These narratives that go around, but they're not saying anything. They don't correct people, and it's just like, tell these people who are freaking lunatics about this league and are using you for their positions, shut the hell up. I'm not interested, and I don't agree with you, number one.
Number one.
Boy, about 10 minutes ago, you could hear the frustration in Sam PANAYOTOVICH's voice about LeBron James. I don't know why people are frustrated. He's one of the great players of all time. He's still a top 25 player in the league. He is going to affect, especially the East, wherever he decides to go. Now, he spoke yesterday. He did not say anything. Nope. Adam Silver spoke yesterday and was honest. He's like, hey, I would like him to make a decision pretty soon because our TV partners are really interested in this, and we got to hold off a little bit on our schedule until we find out where LeBron goes. So, by the way, for everyone out there who's like, who cares where he goes? Does anyone really care? Yeah!
Yeah, the commissioner does.
The commissioner said that the TV folks are waiting on LeBron. Just because you don't like him and you're tired of the story, there are zillions of people who follow the NBA and don't follow the NBA. They're interested in a 41-year-old LeBron because, yes, he will affect the title race unless he picks a team that has no shot.
Right, which he's not going to. He's not going to. By the way.
Better not, which means that, for Cleveland, I think should probably dial down its expectations. I'm not saying they couldn't win the East, but I think they're one of the worst choices.
The best choice is Philadelphia from a basketball sense. Assuming he goes to the Eastern Conference.
I think the Old Man Warriors are a better choice. I think the Heat are a much better choice. I think the Wolves are a better choice. Hell, he should be considering the Pistons. Well, I already said he should consider the Spurs. I've said all along, I think Cleveland's a stupid place to go to. And now they don't even sound like they're grateful if he comes back. So enjoy Donovan Mitchell and your good regular seasons and your second round exits.
Again, Philadelphia basketball wise, but he's not hurting his legacy. It's all that. Shaq even came out today and said, like, if he picks a place where he thinks he's going to win, he's not ring chasing. He's just trying to fortify his legacy further, which is 100% correct.
Which Shaq did down the stretch.
Yes.
That whole Paul Pierce thing a week ago
was nonsense.
Pierce was like, no one has ever done that. Like, what are you talking about? Everyone, whether it's ring chase or not, everyone lengthens their career.
Everyone did it except for Jordan, basically. But Jordan owned the team. That's the only reason he played for him.
I mean, the other thing that's lost in the whole Jordan legacy is he did come back to the Wizards, and they weren't good, and he was just okay. And wherever LeBron goes, they will win at a pretty high level, and they will be a title contender, or at least an outside title contender.
On ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Giveaway time at the halfway point of the show, and then we'll get you updated on what's going on around baseball. Yankees-Dodgers going on many of the screens here at the Golden Circle Sports Bar. A's are coming up the beginning of their second half, going against the Nationals. So both of those teams not very good on the mound, although tonight's matchup is pretty solid. But a giveaway here. We've got Totally Tubular coming to town in a couple of Saturdays at the Sahara. You can get your tickets if you don't win these at Ticketmaster.com. 364-1100 for a pair of tickets. Caller 7, 364-1100. This is well before your time, my friend Jeff Parles, but Totally Tubular has a bunch of 80s bands. Some of the bands include Thomas Dolby, Flock of Seagulls, The Producers, Animotion, The Escape Club, and Bow Wow Wow, which is a weird deal because they had a song, I Want Candy. The lead singer was this hot chick with a mohawk. Now, I can say that because when the song came out, it was 1982, and years later we found out, oof, she's only 16. She was hot, right? But I was 12. So screw you! So,
You're
you.
okay.
Annabella, I'm fine. Now, if you were like...
Now, if you were 22 instead of 12,
if you were born in 1960...
We're getting into the trouble there.
Yeah, then you you had more than enough trouble. And I won't mention Tracy Lords from Other Worlds, but anyway, that's another problem with the age limit.
Flock of Seagulls was Iran, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm not going to say I had Flock of Seagulls hair, but I may have grown out the front a little bit, but not to the point where I could fluff it up. But anyway, they're playing at the Sahara. I really want to go to that show. I'm not in town, but I think that's going to be cool. And Thomas Dolby's awesome, and I won't get into all of his credits and the electronic stuff that he revolutionized. And watch some interviews with him. He's a really interesting guy. So yesterday, the schedules came out. At least early look at some of the scheduling for next year. I don't want to rain on the parade for Major League Baseball fans, but there's a reality here, right? They're going to start very early. Looks like March 24th, or are they? Right? You think it's too early?
It's insanely early.
You may be saved with the labor struggle.
Oh, I'm going to get saved by the labor struggle, but come on. Like, I know we want to have a whole week for the wild card series in that last week of September, but... And I understand we don't want to compete with football because we're going to get clobbered in our ratings in the playoffs, which I understand. But March 24th is too early. March 20 anything is too early for baseball. It's a summer sport. And also, if you're going to insist on it being on March 24th, okay, and March 25th, which will be the full opening day, can we not put games in the cold weather cities? Can we put them in Florida and Texas and California or places with domes? I don't need to be sitting. The fans do not need to be subjected to some 40-degree day in the Bronx. The fans in Minnesota don't need to be subjected to 27 degrees and potential for snow at the end of look. You could get that on April 22nd in Minneapolis, but it just. Silly. It's silly more than anything else. Also, which never will happen, Cofield, maybe you should shorten the season by 8 games or 12 games. Maybe you should do that.
I don't know. Go back to playing a lot of doubleheaders. The guys can do it.
Yeah, I mean, expand a roster to 30 every day. And if you're like, all right, you know what? On doubleheader days, normal day you have to pick your 26 that you have for the day of the game. But on doubleheader days, go to 30. There's so many easy fixes for this, so you don't have to start on March 22nd, where half the league could be sub 40 degrees.
The Golden Circle Burger, the Linebacker Bison Burger, Black Forest Clubhouse Sandwich, Polish Sausage, Grilled Reuben Sandwich, some of the many great items here at the Golden Circle Sports Bar, and they're all online money-wise, man. They have not raised the prices here. These are not stir prices. Come on down, Golden Circle, anytime. Grab a beer, grab a drink, grab food.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Yeah, to piggyback that promo there by Brandy about social media, she's doing a great job beefing things up on LV Sports Network and Raider Nation Radio 920. on ESPN Las Vegas. You can find a lot of the stuff, as we'll put it out today, tomorrow, and through early next week, that we got at Mountain West Conference Media Day. So I talked about hometown hero Micah Alejado and his bowling. There's a video up about that. He's actually a better bowler than he is a football player, and he's the offensive player of the year preseason in the Mountain West Conference. But also a lot of the conversation with Dan Mullen, some stuff from early in the week with Josh Pastner. Let's do a giveaway here. So we're going to talk to Jason Eck in about 30 seconds. 4-pack of tickets to the Aviators against El Paso coming up on the 23rd. Ticketmaster is where you can get the tickets if you don't win these. 364-1100. Aviators tickets, 4-pack. Caller 7-364-1100. Yeah, caught up with Jason Eck, the head coach of the New Mexico Lobos, and asked him, hey, does it feel different this year? You know, you're kind of wading in unknown waters last year, and this year you guys are one of the favorites.
It was a good first year, and I believed we were going to be good last year and go to a bowl game, and might end up exceeding my expectations, going to tie for the conference. But it's kind of the plan now. We've raised our standards. Now we're not just talking about going to a bowl game. We're talking about winning the conference championships, and we know we got to make some, big steps up to do that.
Jason Eck, the New Mexico coach, is with us. When you sat down, you pointed to the cameras. You're like, oh, you guys are doing this with radio and everything. I mean, you should be as interested in anyone as anyone. My Lord, your social media and your video team. Where do you guys come up with all these wacky ideas?
We got a great team. They come up with a lot of ideas. Brandon, one of our creative guys, he got me on a Black Hawk helicopter and some of our players the other week. So they're coming up with good ideas. My wife had the ideas for doing some Sopranos stuff. I had the idea for the low riders, something to lean into. Albuquerque, it's kind of big in New Mexico culture. So, we just. Our fan base, was not apathetic. You saw that just in the pit and everything for basketball, but I think they need to be engaged. We had to give them some good football to get behind, because they've had good basketball to cheer for all those years, and then we had to engage them. And what the ticket guy said, hey, one time we did a video and we saw a big bump in tickets in the next couple of days, and I said, you know what that tells me? We got to keep doing videos. Yeah. We can't just have it be a one-time bump. Let's do that every week and get the bumps.
Remind me, did you do a Seinfeld?
We did an Office one.
Office, that was it.
Yeah, Office.
Were you a fan of The Office?
I was. I'd watched quite a bit of The Office, and I had seen that episode and stuff before. It was kind of based on the guy Michael made a promise he couldn't keep, on the kids, and we did that. We did that with free tickets, and that was great. Our administration has been great with that. I mean, you can get free tickets. For kids 12 and under when you buy an adult ticket, and they're really trying to do things to put people in seats.
Did anyone come to you with an idea where you're like, okay, let's pump the brakes? Now we're getting a little crazy.
Nothing that we haven't been able to work through. I mean, there's maybe been some tweaks of hey, I wouldn't say this. Let's change it or something. But I think we've made it work to do something anytime we've had an idea.
It's kind of rare because I think a lot of football coaches, especially first-year coach, would be like, football. I gotta win. Okay, I don't have time for this nonsense. So how do you kind of balance that, without it getting overwhelming?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to be yourself. I like to have fun. I like to do creative things. And I think it's a competitive thing. I look back our last home game against San Diego State. In overtime. In the second overtime, San Diego State has 3 straight false starts, and because of the crowd noise. And putting people in seats, getting them there—that's a competitive advantage in football. And no one had probably said in the history of football, "Hey, we got to work on crowd noise at practice this week because we're going to New Mexico." But I think this promotional stuff has helped. Where maybe people need to start doing that. Maybe Coach Mullen's got to worry about that when they come to town in November.
Well, that's actually a good point. And, I'm on the UNLV broadcast team, and all the trips I've made down there in 8-9 years, generally there's been no one there. There's no home field advantage. Are you surprised how quickly it came along? Because sometimes this can be a 3 or 4 year build to get the fans back. And for you guys, it was like a 3 or 4 game build.
Yeah, we sold out our second home game. It was the first sellout since 2007. It went fast. I'd seen a little bit at Idaho. We were able to increase attendance. Now, it took a little longer. It probably took really to our second year there to really get it going. I think that UCLA win was really big for us. We hadn't beat a Power 4 school in a long time, and I think UCLA probably even was closer to home to our fans because, we lost, Steve Alford to UCLA, a great coach and things like that. So, we lost just Donovan Dent, a really good basketball player, just transferred to UCLA. So I think just, some of those familiarities of losing to them, being able to get them, I think got our fan base going right away.
I had a chance to talk to the commissioner, Gloria Navarez, a little earlier, and she was mentioning that the coaches had a meeting about a bunch of different things, and you guys talked about the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker for the schools who've not benefited from the tiebreaker the last couple of years, the fans are incensed. What can they do? And do you feel like you got jobbed last year?
You know what? It's tough to have a tiebreaker when 4 teams are involved. It's tough. And, I think we're tweaking it a little bit, how we're doing that. I think getting a team in the college football playoff is huge for the conference. So I think we did some things yesterday that I think will come out here soon that, if we have a team that's really seriously in contention in that top 25 ranking, we want to do everything we can do to try to help that team get there. But my big thing I've learned about tiebreakers is don't let it become a tie. If you go 7-1, then you don't have to worry about the 6-2 tiebreaker with that way. So that's kind of been my message to the team is if we want to win a conference title, don't leave it up to tiebreakers. You got to control your own destiny on the field.
Jason Eck is up on ESPN Las Vegas as we're here at Mountain West Conference Media Days. So I want to talk about retention because that's key in the program. Frankly, for UNLV, there's a lot of talk about how the portal, they brought in 50 and 40 guys, but they actually retained a lot of the key guys over the 3 seasons from Odom to Mullen. What was your retention rate like?
We did pretty well. We had probably 4 guys that we would have liked to get back that we lost to the portal. 2 specialists, lost a punter and a long snapper, and then a tight end to his first team all-conference. And then we had a running back who we would have liked to keep. So we did all right. I think that's, probably better than average, I would think. We had a lot of good players coming back. And certainly we had some guys who could have gone somewhere else and probably made more money that we got to be able to keep. But, I think it's critical that your players are having a great experience in the program and they feel like they're getting developed. Those best players are playing a lot. They're winning. They're having a good experience. I think that's critical.
Pulling from the portal, your plan last year was pretty heavy on FCS guys. Now, with some of your experience of bringing guys with you, did you change it this year? Did you go more lateral? Did you try to pull from group of 4?
We're trying to find the right fit. I'm excited about a receiver we got from you guys, Big Troy O'Meara. He's one of the best looking receivers I've ever been around. I mean, he's humongous now. He ended up hurting his knee in that Frisco Bowl game you were at. So he wasn't able to do a lot this spring, but now as he's gotten into things this summer, he's looking good, and we got to keep him healthy, get him to the dance and stuff. He's got a lot of, tread on those tires over the years and stuff from knee injuries and things. But, we still got some good FCS players. We got another receiver from Eastern Washington that I think is going to do a nice job. I like how he's done. We got an offensive tackle who's competing for a starting job and is probably the front runner going into camp from Weber State in the Big Sky. It's a good program that we like a lot. But we got a running back from Memphis who I think is going to be really good. And he was, so he wasn't the power 4 drop down, but I thought he had a good spring and kind of cemented himself as our second back. So we're just always trying to find the right fit. We got a power 4 drop down from Cincinnati who actually played for us at Idaho. So we had him at Idaho, then he went to Cincinnati to chase the money for a couple of years and came back. So, we had a junior college guy, a couple of junior college guys who were doing a good job for us in the D-line too. So, to me, it's where you can find value.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're pretty good at running back, though, because you lost Bankston, but you have experienced guys back, and then you add another to the mix, so you should be good at that position.
I think so. We got a North Texas transfer, and they really had a tremendous offense. He's probably our third. One of our backs was a really good special teams player for us. Had a little foot injury, and so he's probably going to miss the beginning of the year, but should be back for conference play. And then, Scott Trey Humphrey, I think, can have a big bounce back year. He was a preseason all-conference running back in the league last year, and then ends up getting beat out by Bankston as the year went on. But he's still a good back, and I think he's good. I love the UNLV back. I think he's a great player, but I think Scott Trey can be one of the better ones in the league, probably behind the UNLV guy.
Did you think your son at linebacker would make this kind of jump immediately and be really good at this level?
I thought he would play well at this level, and that really goes back, my last year at Idaho, we played Oregon and Wyoming, and I thought he played very well in both of those games. So I thought he was ready to be an FBS player. I would not have predicted he would have been the, co-defensive player, of the year or first team all conference. But I did think he was ready to, be a good player at this level.
Is he a better college football player than you were?
Oh, much better. Much better. I was, I was like what you call a 5 touchdown guy. I played when we were up by 5 touchdowns or down by 5 touchdowns. Thankfully, Coach Alvarez is a hell of a coach, so we usually weren't down by 5 touchdowns. It was mostly I got to play in the UNLV game where I think we beat UNLV in 1998, like 52-7, and got in at the end of the game for the last few series.
Jason Eck, New Mexico coaches with us. Last couple of questions. What would have happened this offseason if Jackson got calls from people? Maybe he did. I don't know what the linebacker market is. What if someone came to him? What if it was Wisconsin? And they're like, $750,000. What do you do?
Well,
you're not leaving.
My agent called me at one point last year, and I figure he's calling about me, but no, he didn't want to talk about my son. He goes, hey, I just want to do this as a courtesy because, in their agency, like they have different player agents than coach agents. So he says, hey, we just wanted to let you know and be on the up and up. Our players' agents are reaching out to your son and wanted to keep you in the loop so you weren't surprised. I said, respect that. I said, I don't know if he'll respond. He says he gets those messages, but he never usually responds to them. But so I said, out of curiosity, did you get a range? Like, what do they think? And he goes, yeah, we're very confident that they could find him a spot that would be $500,000. So I waited to the end of the year because I didn't want him thinking of that. But after our last game, I did tell him that and said, hey, our last regular season game, I want you to know this. This is what they think. Said it might not do you much benefit because your mom might kill you. So you might not be able to spend that money, but they think that's what you can get. So I felt like I it kind of ate at me, but I felt like I have to tell him and at least point that out. But I'm thankful for his loyalty and taking less to be here. And it's been very special for our family, special for his mom, to coach him.
Last 2 questions. Quarterback, Jacqueline, health-wise, I know elbow, but not throwing elbow.
It is his throwing elbow.
It is his throwing elbow.
Yeah, he had a surgery in the offseason. It really bothered him as the year went on last year. I thought probably his pinnacle, his best game was probably the UNLV game. I thought he played very well in Allegiant Stadium there, but it really bothered him as the year went on. So they went in there and had to do some cleanup and things afterwards. He's back throwing this summer. Has looked good. We just got to be smart with him. I think we got to, he's really smart mentally, so we got to put him on a little bit of a pitch count, make sure we're getting him to the season, not overworking it, because that was kind of the start of it. He's kind of a kid who loves to be a work ethic guy, but sometimes it can be a detriment, throw too much and things. But we got James Lobstein back, which was a boost. He wasn't there in the spring, and then he got –
by the way, what a nightmare for Rebel fans.
Yeah.
Because he's
a runner.
My God.
No, he's
ridiculous up here.
He's a stud. So that was a huge boost. We found out, I just got a call from our compliance director one day at the end of May and said, I thought that he had no chance, but he had a waiver based on some previous schools he was at, and he got another year. So that was a big boost for us to get him back.
Well, congrats on a great first year, and you guys are definitely in the mix to compete for the title again. We'll see you in November, and hopefully that's a big game for both schools.
Yep. See you in Albuquerque. Take care. Bows up.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Partying.
Yeah, all right, here we go. 5 o'clock hour, fun. We'll try to, right? Scoreless game right now, Dodgers and Yankees. That one's in the third. Garrett Cole and Roki Sasaki. That was basically a pick'em game. I saw it too late to bet.
What would you have bet?
I think the Dodgers.
Okay.
Even though Cole is awesome and Sasaki's been very shaky, the Dodgers just have been much better. And the Yankees have struggled of late. I think the Yankees came in only, 12 over 500. Dodgers, it was interesting, the pregame on Sportsnet Live posted the record of the last couple of years, and the Dodgers at the halfway point of the break weren't really great the last couple of years. And they have been, in spite of the injuries, and think about it, they've raced out to a 61-36 record, and Their zillion-dollar closer has been out almost the entire time, and Snell barely pitched. They're still waiting on Glasnow. And Shohei has been mostly good on the mound. He came on before the break, before his knee got a little dinged up. Like, he's had a good year hitting-wise, but not. He's not on his way to 50 and 130. Arguably, they can get better. That's a crazy thing. You would have bet Cole?
I wouldn't have touched it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have touched it. That's the motto with baseball betting for me. You know, it's this second half across the board is so interesting because the NL, it's pretty much set. We know 4 teams that are going to be in the playoffs. I feel pretty confident in that. The Dodgers, the Brewers, the Braves, and the Phillies. The 4 of them are going to go. I feel fairly confident the Cubs will be there. So it's everybody else for one spot, at least in my book. And in the American League, the Yankees and the Rays are going to make it. Other than that, who knows? Because everyone else in that league is either horrible or is so unbelievably flawed and cannot get out of their own way. I mean, the Blue Jays are getting clobbered by the White Sox, who, again, just, I don't think they're going to be able to hold up a whole 162. But they're in first place. They're great at home. They're 31. The White Sox in a ballpark that is probably the most sterile ballpark I've ever been to for a major league park. 14 games over. That's pretty amazing. I mean, everything with the White Sox has made no sense to me this year. None. And here they are with a legitimate chance to make the playoffs.
If you're a seller and you have pitching, both back end, but especially starting pitching, I mean, this is an unreal time. Because the good starting pitchers could be the difference between making the playoffs and not, because there are so many teams within hailing distance of the playoffs.
Well, it's why it's fascinating. I'm going to bring up the Padres for a second. If the Padres have a bad run out of the All-Star break, and 2 weeks from now they're 4 games under, someone would give you a ridiculous haul for Mason Miller. And I know they gave up a ridiculous haul to get him to the A's last year, but someone could get pretty darn close. Look, I don't know if anyone's given up anything that's close to Leo DeVries, but you get pretty darn close for the rest of that package, though. Going to be a wild deadline.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this Friday. We got World Cup final coming up on Sunday. We were out at Mountain West Conference Media Days the last couple of days, so we're going to have a conversation with Timmy Chang, the head coach of Hawaii, coming along in less than 10 minutes. I did want to mention the juices got flowing just being around the college atmosphere again, and UNLV football's coming up here in 43 days. We had talked to Josh Pastner at the Summer League back on Tuesday, and Pastner kind of wet the whistle with his roster because they still have some flexibility. They still have 2 or 3 openings. Now, he claims they don't have a lot of budget left, but I think that's case by case. And if you notice, well, he kind of teased everyone with the fact that he mentioned Kamani Hamilton is filing for another year of eligibility in North Carolina. Howie Fleming, his deal is straight through the NCAA. In Ohio, there was a case filed, and the reason these cases are being filed is the 5-5 thing that's coming. But players are going to argue, like, hey, let's get it going now. I want my 5th year. In Southern California, or in California, there was a suit filed, and I hadn't had a chance to look at the names, and the list is pretty good because the headline includes Donovan Dent.
Good player.
Who was a great player at New Mexico, was pretty solid last year for UCLA, got the bag, got like over $2 million. The rest of the list includes some pretty good players. That's interesting. Benny Geeler, who I got to see play with Stanford against UNLV, who would have a market because he's a shooting specialist. And I'm sure he got his degree from Stanford, so now he can go anywhere he wants. Jaden Henley is on the list.
Huh.
He, formerly of Minnesota, DePaul, UNLV, Grand Canyon. If he's eligible and he goes back to Grand Canyon, they are an overwhelming favorite to win the conference, the Mountain West Conference. Remember, the Mountain West, no San Diego State, no Boise State, no Utah State. Colorado State's pretty solid. Fresno's, not great. But Jaden Henley could come back. There's some other good players on this list. But to the point that Passner was making, a lot of schools don't really have a lot of spots left, and same goes for budget. So it'll be really interesting if there's a flood of like 75 to 100 more players, what the hell happens? And there are people who hate this.
Boy.
I freaking love it.
Oh, I mean,
I love it.
There'll be a lot of whining. We know that.
But here's the thing. There shouldn't be, because we saw this coming as a possibility. You had to keep a roster spot open, one or two. And frankly, for a group of 4 schools, and even, I guess, the Big Catholic has they have a lot of money. For those schools, money is not going to be an issue.
Oh,
so there's going to be some mercenaries who might be available here in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I find that really cool.
Could be
I
fun.
know people hate it.
Could be fun.
I know.
Could be a little mini second portal there, Cofield.
A couple more points on football or soccer, and then we got a football roundup coming up at around 5:35. How good is Spain? Like, what does this mean historically that Spain made the final?
So this is just their second final ever. They won in 2010. That's their only World Cup. 2010, they lost their opener. This go around, remember, Spain kind of got discounted right away because they had the 0-0 draw to Cabo Verde. And Cabo Verde ended up being arguably the best story in the whole World Cup. I mean, they gave Argentina a ridiculous scare in the round of 32. And Spain, 7 matches, 6 shutouts, or clean sheets, as they call them in soccer, Cofield. Simone is the first ever goalie to have 6 of them in one tournament. So 1 goal in 7 games, which is obscene. And honestly, look, they needed a late goal against Portugal to beat Portugal. They needed a late goal against Belgium. That was really a goalkeeper mistake against Belgium to advance in the quarters. But they really beat the snot out of France. Like, that was a one-sided game where they get the PK early. France had 1 shot on goal until the 85th minute. France was the most dominant offense in this tournament by margin, and Spain just sucked the life out of them. And then you have on the other side, Argentina, where, look, Argentina, I think, has been they're fortunate to be here. But Ella Brockway sent this out on X the other day. Argentina in their knockout games so far, minute 1 through 67, they're a -3. 68 and beyond, they're a +8, which is outrageous. That's just finding ways to get it done.
I know what I'm betting.
They would also be the first team to repeat since the Pele-era Brazilians. So we got some, either way, if Spain pitches another shutout, and 7 of their 8 matches were shutouts, historic and just no one could break them down. Their defense was all time. Simone, who I don't even think has been overly spectacular in this tournament, he's just been more than good enough in front of a back line or behind a back line that has been dominant. And Argentina's looking to do something hasn't been done since the 70s. So one way or another, we're getting a historic champ as it is. Also, there was an article on ESPN.com saying that Messi is already clinched being the greatest male athlete of all time. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far yet, but if they win back-to-back and the second one comes at the age of 39, and with him being, I would say he's been the best player in this tournament, I think that argument gets pretty hard to shut down at that point, Cofield.
If you're coming down to the Strip this weekend, good place to pre- and post-game for any event on the Strip is Jackson's Bar and Grill, our friends at 6020 West Flamingo. Flamingo and Jones, the home of the best value steak in town. In fact, nationally, Tasting Table named Jackson's Bar and Grill as one of the 7 best restaurants with a steak under $30. $22 on the garlic marinated bistro filet. $22 on the 1-pound ribeye. You get all the fixings with it. It's a great spot, great gaming, bonuses left and right. Happy hour 24/7. The Club Tales, let's do it. It's Jackson's Bar and Grill. Chef Lonnie's in there hand-cutting the steaks every morning for you guys. Jackson's Bar and Grill, 6020 West Flamingo. So I mentioned Mountain West Conference Football Media Days. We had so many good conversations. One of them included another one of the coaches of one of the 4 or 5 teams in the running. Hawaii is back. They've got a hometown hero in Micah Alejado at quarterback. He is the preseason offensive player in the preseason offensive player of the year in the Mountain West Conference. We know the rivalry exists because they have the Golden Pineapple Trophy, but UNLV's done a really good job against Chang and Hawaii, and I brought that up at the start of the conversation with Timmy Chang about UNLV's recent dominance in the series, which included last year's 38-10 win.
Yeah, it hasn't really gone our way. Watching UNLV, now, going into my fifth year, having played a Royal, having played Coach Odom for 2 years, and now, Dan, last year, it was one of those games last year where, both teams are doing well. We had common opponents early on, and if whoever won that conference game late in the season would put themselves in the conference championship, and I really felt that way going into it. And UNLV won, and it ended up being it makes for a good story. I mean, the games are competitive, the teams are good, and that's a good place for college football, especially our Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, I asked your guys yesterday. Jemai and Cam sat down with us, and I mentioned, hey, you guys are Vegas guys. Like, were you too hyped up for the game? Like, is there still an emotional thing to kind of wrangle, like to not be too fired up? Or you want to be jacked for the game against UNLV?
No, I think this. I remember there's a couple things that I thought about before the game. I really thought it was a really big game, and that's, me being a first time head coach going into year 4 at the time. For me it was like, man, this is the biggest game that I've head coached to date. And it had that feeling about it. You knew our fans were traveling over. We have fans here. There's a big Hawaii base community here. And I'm very appreciative of Las Vegas, just opening their doors, to the Hawaii people, and being a home away from home, Ninth Island. But that's what makes our game so great. And then now that we have all the sports in there in the Mountain West, it's just gonna continue to, build this natural connection, rivalry, if you may say. But it had that feel. It really did have that feel. And I also thought that going into the game, I loved where our team was at mentally. And I went back and watched. I just recently was on the plane and I was watching the game and how the game went and hats off to UNLV and how talented and how the defense played and really how the offense played. I mean, Cordero was on fire and the receivers were humming and that's the difference.
Well, you guys got out to a great start because Jackson Harris up top, chunk plays, that had been a problem all year for UNLV. It's like, okay, here we go. And then it almost felt like UNLV ran some different things. Calandra was very good, but they also had some weapons that they hadn't really used all year in Tayshawn Lyons, who's back, Daddy Reynolds, JoJo Earl got off. And I thought the other thing is, you can explain it. You guys ran a lot, but I thought the defense did a good job of kind of hemming in Micah. Like after the game, when you looked at it, you were like, what can we do better offensively?
Yeah, I think there were some glaring things that playing in an environment like Allegiant caused for us, and that's a great home field to be able to play in a big grand stadium where it could present challenges, and so for us, there's definitely some learning experiences that we take away from the game, and we can put in our back pocket for the next time we come out here. But I think overall, the better team that day was UNLV, and that's why they hold the trophy, and it makes for another 2026 early experience. Yeah. Which will probably have, again, implications later on in the year. Yeah.
Mike Alejado was back, and Micah is the offensive player of the year, the preseason offensive player of the year. We're talking to Timmy Chang, the head coach of Hawaii. What gets him to another level? Like, what do you have to do for him to make him a better player this year? Because he was pretty damn good last year, minus the health at the beginning. Yeah. What's the next step?
For him, it's staying healthy. I think in keeping him healthy. It's a tough situation. He's getting sacked in the pocket. His ankle gets rolled up and fall on the wrong way. He has to endure that the whole season. But in enduring that the whole season, I think he learned a lot about himself The team learned a lot about him. We learned a lot about him as coaches. With him, it's just keeping that mindset the same. Through all this media, all the media talk, and as I get to talk to different writers and people and the thing that I love is his leadership. He just got to keep growing in his leadership. Football is the biggest team game. The quarterback is a big focal point, but he can't do it alone, and he knows that. So when the honor comes to him, it's a team honor.
So I got to talk to him for, 5 minutes yesterday doing a quick video. I hadn't spoken to him before. First of all, it's a little jarring. He's a diminutive guy. He plays big, but he's a diminutive guy. Then you start talking to him, and you're like, okay, I get it. Like, he's got a presence about him and a maturity because he's not old yet. He's not like he's been in school for 4 years. What do you chalk that up to? Is part of that being in the program? Did he have that coming in? Like, where does he get that maturity from and kind of that steady leadership?
I think, and it's good for all the fans to hear, and especially fans that have young kids and youth that are growing up and playing sports. The family, Paul and Jennifer and his family have done such a great job of raising him from the start. Putting him into sports early on, playing the quarterback position, him embracing the sport. Him making the conscious decision to move to Vegas for opportunity to play at a big level, to win a national championship in high school. That's all his upbringing. I think more times than not, parents, and even now I'm figuring out with my 5 kids, as I have a 15 all the way to a 5-year-old. Just having to navigate parenting, and we coach. And we do that for a living, but parenting is such a different aspect, because, you love your kids so much, but how do you push the right buttons? And I think his family did that. And then you get a young man that has big aspirations, has a good mind, has a great mindset, and has a great head on his shoulders.
My favorite part of the conversation, of course, was using a tip that you gave me from last year. And that was, I started talking bowling with him, and then I didn't realize, because I knew he was good. And he's like, oh, no, that was a family thing. So apparently they all went bowling, and that's kind of where some of his competitive spirit got in. That I guess he wasn't the best bowler in the family, but they were like hardcore into it.
They are. And I think recently he just picked up within the last 2 weeks or week. I think he just bowled a 300 game. And so
I believe it.
He's
Coach, he told me he's got 20 bowling balls. He goes, but I don't bring more than 7 to the alley. I'm like, what is going on here with this guy? And he actually said his best sport is bowling, not football.
He is, going to his house and seeing all his bowling shoes and all the bowling balls. I was like, this is a different cat. And then we had like a bowling like an organized party, like a deal, like a fundraising deal. And the guy is teaching me how to 2-hand spin the ball. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. He taught me. And the first one, okay, now you just aimed it a little off. Okay, you understand your spin now. And then all of a sudden, it's strikes and, and 9 pins. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. Wow. Yeah, it was like a 5-minute lesson, and he became the coach. And so he's got a bright future. And I think he wants to go into coaching. And one day he'll sit in this seat and – Cofield, you'll be interviewing him.
I hope I'm still around, right? We're talking to Timmy Chang, Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. We were talking about technically a hometown hero here in Vegas, Micah Alihada, who's playing at Hawaii. Okay, got to protect him. Offensive line can get better, and I saw you got some transfer infusions on the offensive line. So what's competition like right now?
Yeah, it's that was a big question mark going into last year. I thought our offensive line did well. I thought they continually got better. They continue to get better. There's guys that we have to obviously replace. But there's guys that have experience of playing. And so we'll plug and play those guys, and the best 5 will play, and they got to keep Micah up.
Let's talk receiver, because the word is you might have the deepest room in the Mountain West Conference. But again, you've got guys who are coming back. You lost some key guys, but you went to the portal. Who'd you bring in from the portal? What's the receiver room look like?
Yeah, we brought in 3 guys on the outside to supplement some of the guys that we did lose. And our depth remains in at slot back with Ashfaq Profele. He remains a staple for us. And then getting a homegrown Las Vegas guy like Audric Harris coming in, and then we have some local talented guys, Tom Uliata, Blaise Kamoku, Kai Carvalho, and a young guy in Titan Lackanen. So I'm really pleased with what Coach Jared Ursula has done with our guys.
Defensively, I saw you added Cody DeCambra, who started at Oregon, has familiarity here, high school and at UNLV. Can he be in the rotation for you? Is he going to be key out there?
I think so. Cody is a hard worker. I think that's his niche, man. He works really hard. We got to replace guys like Peter Manuma back there and Keely Nahe Jensen. But Peter, Peter's a 4-year starter. Elijah Palmer is going to be a 4-year starter for us. And so there's some guys in the back end that, are going to have to step in and play the role. And we'll see how they do first game against Stanford.
How do you compare a guy, another Vegas guy, Inglewood, in Jemai Otis to Alejado in the fact that, he's not that Micah got overlooked, but, when I talk about Micah's size, Jemai's not 6'2", 240. Yep. And he mentioned that. Like, that's one of the things that drives him. He's been overlooked. But talk about him as a leader of the defense and as an undersized guy.
Yeah, Jemai, I think if Jemai, coming out of high school, Coach Chris Brown knew the type of player Jemai was and is going to be, and the leadership that he was gonna take. He had as Jemai got into the room, he saw a couple older guys and got to learn under those guys. And then, soon after, Jemai is going to be, arguably a 3-year to 4-year starter himself. And so Jemai just been solid for us on and off the field. His leadership, his work ethic, more importantly, downhill or able to cover guys and run with guys, sideline to sideline. And so he's been unbelievable.
Timmy Chang on ESPN Las Vegas here at Mountain West Conference Media Days at the Palms. Let's close on a couple of things. Schedule first or schedule second. First, did I read this correctly? Extension for you, right?
Yes.
And I saw the note. I think this is even more important. It's important for you, but it's even more important. Did you get something for the assistants where now they could be on longer deals?
Yeah, they're committed to 2-year deals, and that was the biggest thing. I think with the contract, it's not about the money, and that's what I told our athletic director Matt Elliott. It's about consistency, keeping the group together, and more importantly, I wanted to take care of our staff. I think our staff does a hell of a job in pouring into our guys, and that's what's created the continuity of our brotherhood. And so that contract is really important for us holistically as a group, and being able to stay together and build something special.
So tell me about support as it's building locally. You guys have a great tradition. You played there, so you know all about it. How big a deal is it to finally get the stadium funded? I don't know about the progress. I've seen Aloha Stadium, which makes me kind of sad to see it. You're crumbling down as they take it down. But how big is that in terms of commitment? And also, is there other commitment that you're starting to see where there's more buy-in?
Yeah, with the stadium, Stanford Carr and our state have really come together to put something together that our state can be proud of. It's sad that the old stadium with so much memory from, the whole state, high school games, Pop Warner games, baseball was played in there. Of course, the Pro Bowl was played in there for years, and then us, and so there's so much tradition that has happened. Sad to see it go, but so excited to see, what's about to happen. I think, all the bells and whistles and of what a modern stadium is going to look like. I think that's something that our state can be proud of and build upon, and I think that's important for progress moving forward.
To build on that, in spite of the fact that I do sports radio and I benefit from having all these teams and all these stadiums, I'm actually not very high on using tax money for stadiums. But I do think there are certain places, and Hawaii is one of those places where you hit on it there, that there's a community benefit. And if there's multiple uses for a stadium, you got to have a stadium that serves the entire state.
Yeah, and I think you're, Stephen, I know you're close enough to know how important the community is to our program locally. There are no professional teams, and so the UH and the H, that logo stands stands strong, and it's a symbol of a university that not just represents its community, but all 8 islands in the whole state, and our football team takes its pride. So, our guys feed upon that, and they work hard because they want to represent the state. And so, there's a lot of great things coming, and I think all of what we just talked about, they all entail that. And so the stability, the consistency of building something, for years to come and decades past. When I'm not sitting in this chair, hopefully there's a foundation that's built that can just be taken off and continue to grow.
That's funny. It hit me. You kind of learn the more you go to the islands. You see that brotherhood and how important sports can be and the community bond. Like, I think it was a couple of years ago, I went and we just went to go get something on a Friday night, go get some Asian food. Great restaurant, hole in the wall. But I noticed as soon as I walk in, it's all locals, and there's high school football on every TV. Yeah. And everyone's glued to the TV on a Friday night. I'm like, okay, this is really important.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing, and it's a rarity. I mean, there are states that are big on high school football, but it's Hawaii is unto itself. This schedule, let's close on this. Stanford, then UNLV coming out of the gate. So you guys got to be ready, like right from the get-go.
Yeah, you don't have the luxury in college football to get preseason and to see where you're at, but that goes in all to your off-season training and off-season preparing. That these games are coming and meaningful games. You hit it off the head. I mean, Stanford, this is a back-to-back year on a week 0 where Stanford came last year, and we were able to get a kick late with Conce. Kicking a late game field goal to win, and now we go on the road to face something very familiar in the sense of culture, what they're trying to build there with Coach Tavita Pritchard and Andrew Luck in that program. And so they're going to get humming, and they're going to do well, and so they're going to be tough. And then hitting out week 1 in a meaningful game, I think, like we talked about, that 2025, it had a lot of implication late in the season. This year it's week 1, and so it'll probably have the same kind of implication as early as week 1.
Timmy Chang with us. I want to close on this one. I want to get your feel for the conference, because I said yesterday, I walked in, you see some of the schools that are gone, you see some of the new schools, and listen, in the past in this conference, there was an air, Boise State walked around, their chest puffed out, they were the guys. I don't know who the guys are right now. I feel like you guys are back to a point where you're high flying. You guys are feeling good about yourselves. I think UNLV has a really good chance. I'm going to point over to the outlets that are here from Fargo. Mm-hmm. North Dakota State walking in, like, part of me is like, wait a second, because people here are saying, hey, they're top 3 to win the conference, top 4 to win the conference. I'm like, wait, from FCS are going to come up, but I think they carry themselves that way. So, what do you feel about the conference in terms of like, who's going to be the king, who's going to kind of be, and I don't mean this year, but moving forward, like, who's going to have their chest puffed out, like, hey, we're the guys?
Yeah, it's interesting when the shakeup happened last year. I think we were all in a different space coming into this media day, knowing that some of these teams are going to leave, watching and observing, how this thing has shaped up to be, new members added into the conference. Just the 3 new members. They all bring a different style type of football. North Dakota State has that. It has that pedigree of championship football, and they should walk that way because they've had confidence in winning championships. And this is no different than when Boise walked in from being FCS champions to now, where they've came in and they have adapted. And so this is a tough. Mountain West has always been a tough conference. Right next to me, talking over in the booth next to us, and that's Troy Calhoun, who's won, and I've been in this conference since Nevada, who has won 9, 10, 8, 11 games, and he's been the standard of what football and tough football should look like. And so, it really is. Everybody's trying to jockey and position themselves to be the top dog in this conference. And I think for us in Hawaii, we're very just grateful. Now we got all our membership, we get all our teams inside here. And, I look for our rivalry and UNLV and Hawaii to grow. And as we try to jockey both for positioning at the top.
Fired up. Like 45 days until we go. I can't wait.
Yeah, let's go. Exciting. Let's go. You guys are good. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm so excited. I'm excited for the UNLV fans as well as our Hawaii fans. And I think there's a lot to get ready for and be proud of.
See those interviews pay off. Timmy Chang. Always like talking to Coach Chang. He loves Hawaii. He obviously spent some time in Reno. He's of course, he played quarterback at Hawaii. He was freaking awesome there. And he's got a great player in Micah Alihado, who, of course, prepped here at Bishop Gorman. So always like to see Hawaii do well, except against the Rebels when the Pineapple Trophy's up for grabs. Dan, the Cookie Man, came by, dropped off cookies, and he was like, good interview. All right. That's what we do it for, the cookies. Giveaway time. James has you hooked up to close out the week. 5-Finger Death Punch is playing at T-Mobile on September 19th. You can get your tickets if you don't win these at AXS or Ticketmaster. Caller 7 right now. 364-1100, a pair of tickets to see 5-Finger Death Punch at the Fortress on September 19th. Football roundup time. Football of all sorts. We just closed out a week where the Mountain West Conference football media days were here in town. ACC was in Charlotte. Next week, SEC is in Tampa, and then the Big Ten is back in Chicago where it belongs. It doesn't belong here in Las Vegas. We enjoyed that event last year, but that was kind of silly. Big Ten is coming back with the women's tournament and their men's tournament in the next 2 years, which will be interesting to see what the turnout is for that, and if Midwesterners and, well, West Coast too, and New Jersey. By the way, we got a New Jersey point to hit, food point, before we get out of here.
I'm intrigued.
I saw some chirping from some Pac-12 football fans last night, and I wanted to go back at them because I saw a couple, like a Fresno State fans, like, oh, the Mountain West Conference media days are a reminder to me to, unfollow all the Mountain West people that I follow. And I wanted to fire back like, hey, what was the big news coming out of the Pac-12 media days? Nothing. They missed out. So whatever money they saved, they whiffed on that one. It is the beginning of the football season, and you want to get the stories out. And the other thing is, there's a lot of people around the country, even around this region, who don't know what the Pac-12 is and who's in it. Like, spread the word.
How many people know Texas State's there?
Almost none.
Almost none. Honestly, Mountain West Media Days, and I don't want this to be taken wrong in El Paso, but Mountain West Media Days was a good reminder that UTEP is in the conference.
It was a good reminder. Next week, and I'll post some of it over the weekend, but next week we'll play, at some point, the conversation I had with Scotty Walden, who, that dude's energetic. I don't know if he can turn them around. UTEP will win at football at some point, and because they've got all the goods there.
Well, they have one of the most beautiful stadium views in the entire country.
And the state has zillions of players. But you're right. It was a reminder for people of what the new Mountain West looks like. I don't think a lot of people know that NIU is in, and North Dakota State had a presence.
Yep.
Immediate presence. You could feel it.
It's going to be interesting how quick that ratchets up with them. And again, we've talked about this on Wednesday. Like, I don't think the betting markets have North Dakota State priced right. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to look. Could they win 6, 7, maybe even 8? Sure. Do I think they're going to win the Mountain West? I mean, they're the third favorite on the betting board in most places. I don't see that. I think they're going to struggle against the better teams in this conference. The UNLVs, the Hawaiis, the New Mexicos are all going to handle them. But look, it's just so the whole thing from the new Pac-12 is just silly. Just even if you do remote media days, even if you do it that way, just give yourself a chance to get out there in front of everyone. Pop Boise, like, for their sake. Like, hey, Boise, like, you brought up the FPI. I'm not a huge fan of the FPI, but Boise is the top non-power conference team to make the playoff. Pop that. Pop that they're a legitimate top 25 team again. Pop that Oregon State and Wazoo will be better after being in the abyss last year. And pop your other new guys. It's just very, very strange. And the fact that they didn't get their message right was even stranger of why they didn't do it.
Well, and the ACC media days served a lot of purposes. One, Miami should be pretty damn good with Darian Mensah, whether you like him or not. They loaded up. They're already freaking stacked with talent. It was a reminder that VTech now has James Franklin. I think they are on the come this year. I think they're going to be maybe an outside choice to compete at the highest level. Can they make the CFP? That would be pretty special to build it that quickly for Jimmy Franklin. Again, to build on Belichick and another year at North Carolina, Feinbaum, give him credit. He came out freaking firing, just annihilating Dabo Sweeney, and he just laid it out. He's basically, Belichick's not going to do crap this year, and it's going to be embarrassing, and what a terrible end because he was all sour because he couldn't get a job in the NFL, so he just jumped at the first opportunity that set up his family. I'm not ready to say that yet. I want to see what they look like at the beginning of the year, but this could be an utter failure, and that's a hell of a way to go out for a guy who, none of us like, and he doesn't like anyone either. But you don't want to see a.
Well, just Jordan.
Actually, I kind of am. You know what? Who was I talking about a couple weeks ago? Oh, it was Floyd Mayweather, and everyone's like, "Really? You feel bad for him that he's losing his money?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do. I have a heart." Not often. So that's actually, if younger me heard me talking about Belichick right now, that it's sad to see him go out this way, I'd get punched in the face.
So I'll just say this.
I'll do it right now.
We're going to learn, and it's hard. I hate making referendums on Week 0 games, even though UNLV is in a referendum Week 0 game against Memphis. North Carolina is in a Week 0 referendum game against TCU in Ireland. Like, that is a gigantic game for where North Carolina is going to be. Get clobbered like they did by TCU last year in Week 1? All right. You're probably not going to see much more improvement. Lose a close game or somehow pull off the upset against TCU? All right. I'll start listening. I'll start thinking, all right, maybe North Carolina can win 7 games. And it's a huge improvement because they were horrible last year. I mean, one of their wins last year was against Syracuse, who didn't have a quarterback. So I'm curious. I don't have any faith that they'll be much better. They'll be a little better because it's hard to be worse than they were a year ago. But, I would imagine that this could be. I don't think North Carolina's going to give up on this after year 2. There's too many issues going on with that athletic department right now because they botched the Hubert Davis firing and ended up with an NBA guy in Malone. Obviously, everyone is furious at Bubba Cunningham right now for what's going on with the Dean Dome down there as well. So they're a little preoccupied even with having Belichick as their football coach.
Coming up, let's get you ready for the World Cup, not just the final, but the third-place game, which Jeff Parles is a very big fan of as we're live here at the Golden Circle Sports Bar at Treasure Island. Come on down. Great menu. Happy hour goes every day, 10 to 6. Specials on select draft beers for just $5 at Treasure Island.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, Dave.
So it's incredible watching baseball when you see how good the hitters are now. And Roki Sasaki's dialing up 99 in the 6th inning, but leaves one over the middle of the plate. Now, Bellinger didn't get the best bat on the ball, but he still laced at the center field and got a single. So Dodgers up, check that, trailing 1-0. Sasaki goes 5 2/3. Yankees have first and second, leading 1-0. So we'll see what happens in that one. Back in the bag. The A's are. Thank you. The A's are going to start their series with the Nationals. Coverage begins over on Fox Sports Las Vegas, our sister station. 13:40 a.m. All 3 games are on Fox. So I'm not going to say something stupid like A's got to turn it around. I don't know at this point if they have to. They're 41-55. So certainly you want to play better baseball in the second half. You want to get your young players lots of playing time, see them all excel. And the pitchers they have a lot of pitchers who are worth keeping around. And like especially a guy like Jack Perkins. We talked about him a few hours ago with Matt Neverett. The kid's got stuff. I think he's miscast as a starting pitcher. So you want to see progress in these next, 66 games for the A's. Back in the bag.
Stick your hand in there, Dave.
Fever lead Seattle. Is that right? Yeah. Seattle 76-75. I just saw a note. Caitlin Clark, fastest player in WNBA history to 200 three-pointers at the start of her career. Did it in 74 games. She's got 4. She's 4-6. She's got 29 points. There's 4 minutes left in the third period. And, we had mentioned earlier Adam Silver talking at one of the functions he was at this week about the political football that's involved around Caitlin Clark is a shame. She's just trying to become a better and better player. Her whack job fans, and a lot of them aren't even fans, it's just the political stuff, have kind of ruined things for her with other fans because people actively root against her. And then they're extra dialed up. Like, I don't know if you saw the highlight the other day where she claims she got kneed in the thigh and she had a contusion and she freaking melted down and flipped out on the officials. So now every time she does that, she's a bad guy. She essentially, is she the Draymond Green of the WNBA? I'm not sure if I'd go that far.
No.
She is too hot-headed and she does complain too much and she probably should be getting teased. But what's ignored is we try to people try to shred her game. Like, she is a great offensive player. And she was responsible for a lot of the points and assists and the point production on the Fever, but you can't see through all of the crap to appreciate how good she's been when she's healthy.
She also hasn't been healthy for 2 full seasons, basically.
That's another problem.
So, look, it's not as simplistic as some people want to make it, right? I mean, you have people out there like, oh, she's a losing player because she doesn't play defense. Well, then you're arguing in the NBA game that Luka Doncic is a losing player, which is nonsense. So, again, Doncic is way ahead of what Clark is right now, but that was the complaint about Luka early in his career, right? Like, that he was all offense, didn't care about defense. I mean, same thing with Jokic early in his career. I mean, Harden has had that his whole life, basically, in the NBA. And again, Harden's a little more difficult of a sell because we've seen the lack of postseason success with Harden. Doncic, as the best player, got Dallas to the final. Jokic won a title. But, again, it's not as simple as everyone wants to make it out to be.
I have to get your take on something we mentioned yesterday. I found it up on Threads, and it was a discussion about pizza. I am going to take a short trip back to the Garden State, New Jersey, which I think is actually the number 1 state for pizza in the country. A lot of the good New York pizza makers all moved to New Jersey. Screw. I'm not going to say screw because I like all types of pizza. I saw a guy post, I own a pizza shop. I'm sitting one table away from 3 dudes enjoying their pizza. One of the dudes is telling the other 2 about how important it is for pizza not to flop when you hold it in your hand. He goes, I'm so tired of this stupid argument that's become popular because of Barstool Guy. What do you think pizza should do when you hold it up? Because I'm down with the flop. I was always down with the flop, and when I saw him make up this whole thing about it needs to, like, stand like cardboard, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, it's because they don't know how to do pizza in Massachusetts. That's all it is. Because once you get north of Connecticut, it's not the same.
Another reason to hate New England.
So, but look, it's the pizza. The best type of slice is one that you can fold the crust.
So how would you fold it if it doesn't flop?
Well, then that's the point.
Now you're breaking it like a freaking cracker.
Then it's too hard. Then it's the wrong type of pizza. It's the wrong type of pizza. You need to be able to get a good fold. That's the best type of pizza there is. The one with the good fold, or the only exclusion of that rule is if you go to New Haven and get a clam pie. That is the one exclusion I'm willing to take because the clam pie is the best non-floppy pizza out there.
That's why I stopped when I said screw Connecticut because they've got the Abits. That's very good, but I'm looking forward to pizza and some bagels, and that's it. That's all I'm going to eat. So
I don't blame you.
I might come back 3 pounds heavier. Hopefully I can rein it in.
I'll take the over.
You're going to take the over? Oh, no confidence. Thanks to Angel. James, very good week. Appreciate it. See ya. Thanks, Jeff.